Set the scene for you. The year 1988. George Michael's faith topped the charts. General Motors was the biggest company in the world, and a senator from Delaware decided to run for president. Nearly 30 years later, and that same man from Delaware, now vice president, may be throwing his hat into the presidential ring for the third time. Joe Biden has emerged as the man many Democrats feel is their only hope to save the party. As Hillary continues to show her descent in the polls, she's slipping. But is Biden really the answer the left is looking for? My next guest says yes. He's a state representative from South Carolina. James Smith joins me now. James, thank you very much. Listen, the very fact that we're even talking about Joe Biden running for president, does that mean that the Democrats fear their star candidate, Hillary Clinton, is in crisis mode?
Well, actually, no. Joe Biden's decision about whether or not to run for president is really independent of Hillary's current standings and what her poll numbers are. This is really a decision that the vice president is making and working through this decision with his wife, Jill. They've had a very important week here in South Carolina. And if he decides to run, I'm here to tell you, as well as many others in South Carolina, that he'll win South Carolina. And his decision is really based about his love for our country and his belief and coming to the conclusion about being the leader that we need going forward. And so I think it's really independent of I think the troubles that Hillary's Clinton's campaign has been facing.
You're saying it's just a coincidence that Hillary slips in the polls, all of a sudden Joe Biden's name rises to the top as someone who may jump in?
Well, of course, myself and many others have been talking with him about running for president for a long time. This is not a new consideration. I think certainly, Hillary's situation gives space in the race. It means there's, I think, no real sense of urgency for the vice president to make a decision today or even tomorrow. But his decision will come about, without regard to, I think, Hillary's current political predicaments. It's about whether or not he comes to the conclusion through consulting with his family and Jill about is this the right future for him to pursue, and is his abilities, and I believe it is. He's got those qualities that I think we need. There's nobody in the political universe now, certainly nobody running for president now, that has the ability to bring the parties together. There's nobody that commands the respect.
Sorry to interrupt, but what is he telling you? I'm sure you've had conversations with him. What's your sense? Is he ready to jump in?
I'm encouraged by what I hear. Certainly from him and others that are around him, and talking to the family members, but no decisions made yet, but I'm encouraged by what I hear, and I don't think there's any need to make a decision today or tomorrow. I think he has still some time to reach a conclusion.
There are those that say, look, he's a little prone to gaffes. A lot of people make fun of Donald Trump and his outrageous comments, but the vice president has had his good share of gaffes. Let's just take a listen.
Well, look. God rest her soul, and although your mom's still alive as your dad passed. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
He is prone to speaking off the cuff, and there's, many instances. Does that worry you about him as a candidate and how that could let him down if, in fact, he jumps into the race?
Not at all, actually. I think it shows how genuine a person he is, really. And I think if that's the worst thing you can say about the vice president is that he is genuine, he's an authentic a leader. I really think that's a very positive quality. But when you look at the field right now on both sides of the aisle and the negatives that each one of those candidates are carrying, I'd say the vice president's in very good shape to consider this race.
Do you think, would you like to see another candidate jump in other than, Hillary has been the presumed favorite, but would you like to see another candidate jump in? If not Joe Biden, who else?
Well, I can tell you from South Carolina's perspective and the Democratic Party here, the support is really consolidating around it. If you look at, there's a vast amount of leaders, faith leaders, community leaders, elected leaders that haven't endorsed, and many are waiting on the vice president to make a decision. So there's certainly that discussion about whether or not Hillary can go the distance, and is this, the email issue going to get worse?
Right.
But we don't know that. I can tell you, though, that that's not part of the calculation that the vice president's making. But I think that it is drawing a great deal of question among many about whether or not she can ultimately win the general election.
Well, we'll leave it right there. Representative Smith in South Carolina, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it.